Many thanks for joining us for an hour to give. I'm Sam Laprade. We're going to be talking about a subject today that is near and dear to my heart, and someone that I've gotten to know over the last number of years is joining me as our very first guest, and of course that is Ray Eskret. Hello Ray, how are you?
I'm a delight. How are you?
Fantastic. You're the chapter manager for an organization, like I said, near and dear to my heart. I've hosted a number of events over the years. I've been a donor to this cause, and I think Shelter Movers Ottawa is one of those gems in our city that people are maybe just getting to know.
Yeah.
So lay it out for us. What do you do?
We provide moving and storage services for people who are fleeing abuse or violence in their home. So we primarily serve women and their children, but we will serve anybody who needs us. Mm-hmm. But we'll go to your house, help you pack, we'll put it in storage while you find a safe place to stay, and then we'll move it into your new place with a whole team. We'll put your furniture where you want it, and we make sure that those types of barriers are removed so that people can find safety when they need it without losing everything they own.
Yeah. And there's a number of people that look around at their situation and they think, if I could just be somewhere safe, if I could just take my belongings, my kids' hockey equipment, my parents' photos, whatever it is, then I would leave this sometimes violent situation.
Yeah, because most people, when they run to a shelter, don't have the time to take their belongings with them. They have a backpack, or they might make a safety plan with a shopping bag, and that's all they have. And most shelters will only let you take a garbage bag worth of belongings anyway. So when you think about everything you own and everything that matters to you, could you fit it in a backpack? Probably not.
No.
And you also have to consider all of the things that people need when they're leaving to pursue any kind of justice. So if you don't have your court papers, if you don't have a utility bill with your name on it, if you don't have a lease or a mortgage with your name on it, and many people experiencing abuse do not, you're not going to get anywhere in court, you're not going to get anywhere in terms of finding a new place to live very quickly. So just those types of things make leaving almost impossible, especially if you have children. How are you supposed to take 3 children to a space equivalent to the size of a hotel room and leave everything else behind?
When children are already going through something so drastic, right?
Yeah. Have you ever tried to take a toddler to a Walmart?
I have.
You need a duffel bag and a stroller, and you need an SUV to carry all that stuff.
I remember thinking, she weighs 22 pounds and we're bringing 75 pounds worth of stuff.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Now move with it.
Exactly. No, 100%. And you're just a solution for so many people. And I think about coming out of this pandemic, and I'll tell you that one of the most heart-stopping moments for me during the pandemic is when someone that works in domestic violence said to me, Sam, we're really nervous because the phones are not ringing. At a time when we were telling people, go home and be safe, but home wasn't safe.
No, home wasn't safe. And right now in Canada, every 2.5 days, a woman is killed, usually by someone she loves, usually in her home. 2.5 days. And it's even worse in rural communities. In the Renfrew corridor, the abuse rates are 75% higher than they are in urban centers.
So let's talk right there about that. I mean, I wanted to get to it, but I'm going to just stop right here.
Yeah.
You have, because the need is so great, you have moved into rural centres. Talk to me about that.
So we've recently expanded into Lanark, Leeds Grenville, Renfrew, Smith Falls, pretty much anywhere in the Ottawa surrounding communities. If you need us, we're coming. Because the need in rural areas is so great and dire, because prevalence of guns is higher in rural areas. There are fewer shelters, there are fewer resources, there are fewer police officers. The chance of a police officer coming to a domestic violence situation is low in the rural areas. They just don't have the officers to get there. And not only that, the social aspects of living in a small town means everybody knows everything.
I was thinking that, because I lived in a small town.
I grew up in a small town.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think only if you've experienced it, you understand what that
means.
like.
And you can't go for help because that person's his brother, or that person is his aunt, or his high school teacher, or the brother of the mother of someone who knows someone else. It's all so connected that there is nowhere to turn.
But you're a solution now,
We are.
right? So
We're
talk
here
to
now.
me about the solution part of this issue.
So anytime a person who is experiencing violence wants to leave, they have to connect with a community agency who will then contact us, and we will make an arrangement to go to their house, pick up their things with them there, or with a representative of theirs if they can't be there. Say if they're in the hospital, their friend could come and show us what to take. And anything that they point out as theirs, we put in the truck. It doesn't matter. It might look strange, some of the things we've rescued, but they mean something to those people. One woman had just been refinishing her lawn, and we took all of the gardening equipment because that was her, that mattered to her. We had one family, all she wanted was her kids' hockey equipment. It was $800 of hockey equipment, and she just, that's what she wanted, so that's what we took. And then we provide storage for free for as long as it takes. Usually, we've had people for a few months, people who take a year or two to find, because the housing crisis,
Right,
of course, is a major
Huge issue.
problem. So it takes time. So we're happy to store those items in a safe place until they're ready to go and get them again.
So thanks for describing the process, because it's really an important thing to share with people. But my mind goes to, okay, what if you show up and the perpetrator's there?
So that does happen. And it depends on the perpetrator. Sometimes they're there just to make sure you don't touch anything of theirs. And they'll stand there quietly and just watch. And usually if we know that there's a perpetrator going to be there, we bring security or police with us, depending on how they've behaved in the past. If they've been cooperative and they want them out of the house, they might welcome us. They go, oh yeah, take that and that and that, and let me help you into the truck. I want this person out. And then other times they will get aggressive or try and block a move, and at that point it's dangerous. We cancel the move. We'll come back another day. We're not going to forget about you. We're not going to leave you to it, but it's not safe.
And stuff is important, but life is more important.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how do you do this? Because I know we're going to meet some volunteers.
It's
'cause
all
it takes a
volunteer
team.
powered.
It takes a team.
It takes a team. We actually have 177 volunteers in Ottawa.
Wow.
We're looking to grow those numbers in rural areas. So if you live in a rural area and you want to help out, please contact us. We need all the rural hands we can get and all the urban hands we can get too. If you want to volunteer, call me. But basically, from everything from intake to the final exit interview is all volunteers. So we have people behind computer screens doing the logistics, finding
Right.
the storage, scheduling the trucks, scheduling the clients to make sure that they're everywhere we need to be, talking with the police to make sure the police show up on time and where they need to be with the info they need. And then we have movers and drivers who drive the trucks, do the physical labor of moving the things, packing up stuff, showing people how to undo their furniture and put it back together again if they want. And then we have people after who do follow-up interviews with the clients. How did it go? What could we improve? What could change? So it's volunteers the entire way through.
How did this all start?
Our CEO, Mark, saw a similar story when he was off on paternity leave with his third child of football players who were moving women out of shelters into new homes. And he thought, well, shelters do this all the time. This is amazing. How can I get involved in this? And every shelter he approached said, no, we don't. We don't move you.
Wow.
That was something that those kids did out of the goodness of their hearts. And he was rather shocked that shelters didn't have the capacity to help you move into a new home. So he thought, this is a major problem. And now he's solved it.
Wow.
So now
So
we're
we-
across the country. We've got 9 chapters across the country now.
And so, yeah, so I know Toronto was the start, correct?
Yes.
Then we came to Ottawa.
Yes.
And I was so excited. and then you've moved across the country.
Yeah, we're in the Atlantic Canada. We're in Vancouver, Calgary, Edmonton. We'll be opening Winnipeg this fall. We've got southwestern Ontario, Ottawa, Toronto, and then 2 in the Atlantic provinces that might combine into 1. So we'll see.
What do you need?
We always need volunteers, and we always need money. Donors are, half of our budget comes from personal donations.
Wow.
Not from grants, not from government. It comes from people's pockets. And we find most people know somebody. Most of our donors have either gone through this themselves, because 1 in 4 women will experience some sort of family violence or gender-based violence in their life. So everybody knows somebody, and it affected them. So whether they went through it, whether their mother went through it, their sister or their friend, and it impacts people in a deep way, and they want to give back. And one of the best ways to help somebody out is donate money, because the trucks aren't free. Right. The gas is expensive. Right. And it doesn't cost us a lot to do a move, because we do get discounts on storage, we do get discounts on the trucks, but it still costs over $200, $250 to move somebody.
Yeah.
So
this is going by so fast, and we only have like a minute, but I've got so much to ask you. But I want to ask about, because I circled a big date on my calendar, September the 20th.
September 20th.
Why did I do that?
It's our major fundraising event. This year we're going to do, we're calling it the Ungala. And it is very special, because we kind of got bored of galas, and we thought, we've all seen the fashion show. We've all worn our best gowns, and we've listened to the magicians, and we've clapped, and we're bored now. So this year we're twisting it. It's going to be the Ungala. So it is cheap tickets for everybody. No more $100, $200, $300 tickets. And we also hired a game designer who did Locked Out of the Library, or Locked in Library in Calgary and Locked in the Zoo in Calgary, to do kind of an escape room treasure hunt sort of game. So instead of watching a gala, you get to actually play in this gala.
How fun is that?
So we're really excited to offer that to the community.
And Tamarack Race Weekend, right around the corner.
I know.
Tell me how you're participating.
I'm doing the 10K.
Wow, good for you.
We actually have a team of 9 people doing the 10K and 2 people doing the marathon, or the half marathon, to raise money for shelter movers, because anything we can do to raise money is welcome. And this was a fun challenge for me. I had heart surgery 2 years ago.
Wow.
So to go from relearning to walk after heart surgery to doing a 10K, I thought was like a really wonderful way to celebrate my life, but also give back to something that has been a part of my life for as long as I can remember.
But there's a beautiful sort of irony there, because you think about people that may not feel like they know how to walk leaving, leaving this home.
Yeah.
And then they get these new feet, if you will.
Yeah.
And they have a new
You have to relearn everything from scratch
they have a new
sometimes.
life. Shelter Movers Ottawa, we're going to send everybody there and encourage everyone to attend as well September 20th and participate. We're going to meet lots of great volunteers.
Yes.
I'm so excited. I had a chance to chat with them just before our start today, and I know there's going to be some great stories. Thank you, Ray.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for everything you do as well.
Thank you.
Ray Askred is the chapter manager for Shelter Movers Ottawa. We're so happy that she is here today. When we come back, lots of volunteers for you to meet. Stay with us on An Hour to Give.
On you in that.
Today is all about Shelter Movers Ottawa. I'm Sam Laprade. This is An Hour to Give, and I'm so excited to welcome to the show Sophie Thapa. How are you?
I'm good, Sam. Thank you so much for having us today.
I'm so happy that you're here because you're the Volunteer Services Manager.
Yes.
That is a very big job. I understand over 170 volunteers. What are you looking for when you look for volunteers?
Just somebody who wants to give back and help with their community. We like to have diversity in our volunteering, so you don't have to be worried to say, well, I fit in. We have a very diverse community. We have people who are retired, people who are students, people who are newcomers, English as a second language volunteers. So just having a heart that you want to help your community, that's what we look for. Most.
And you're looking for people. I love that there's a role for everybody here. Because when I think about Shelter Movers Ottawa, I'm thinking, I can't lift someone's couch, right? But I can maybe do some administration work. I can maybe interact. I can help to fundraise. There's lots of different ways people can get involved, and that's beautiful too, right?
Yes, that's correct. We always say, if you have a talent, we will find a role for you. And that's kind of what we kind of go by, just because we know that not everybody wants to lift, not everybody wants to be out there on a move, and that's okay. There's so much planning that goes into a move, and as you mentioned, without the funds, we wouldn't have the supplies for the move. So yeah, let us know of your talents, and we will find a role for you.
I love that. I love it. So take me right from the beginning. Someone's listening, watching us right now, and they're thinking, I want to be a volunteer. So they reach out to you. Walk me through the process.
Yeah, so the best way to reach out would be to email volunteerottawa@sheltermovers.com. Once they reach out to us, we'll send them some steps that they complete for their application. Four main ones is just having a quick phone interview with us so that we can get to know them, answer any questions that they may have. And then we do have to do a criminal record check, just because we do work with vulnerable populations. And then the last two steps is just to attend our orientation, where we give them more information about what happens on a move, what to expect, what to wear, bring more information about gender-based violence and intimate partner violence in our community. And then finally, if they'd like to be a volunteer driver, just to send in their license. And yeah, 4 easy steps, and you're ready to go on the team.
Well, that sounds great. And I think in the past, I've met people that, maybe the mom starts to volunteer and then the son goes, hey, I want to volunteer too. So some families and friends have done it together.
Absolutely. We have a lot of family partner combinations as well. One partner will start, and a few weeks later we get a new volunteer who's like, my partner volunteers with you, and they speak so highly of you, and it's so much fun that I want to join. I actually joined because of my best friend. So back in Nova Scotia was my first time with Shelter Movers until I moved here to Ottawa, and my best friend joined, and she told me how great it was. It was right at the end of the at the start of the pandemic, where a lot of places were shutting down, but Shelter Movers was one of those places where, you just wanted to do something and to give back with everything that was happening. And so
at a time when so many of us felt helpless, right?
Absolutely.
This was a way of action and a way of coordinating.
Yeah.
So give us a sense, when people sometimes think, oh, I've only got 5 hours a month, or I've only got 2 hours a week. Is there something for everyone in that time frame too?
Absolutely. So many of our roles are very flexible. The most flexibility, I will say, is with the volunteer mover driver roles, because we let you know, hey, here's 4 moves that are coming up over the next 2 weeks. You sign up based on your availability. The administrative roles, just because we monitor intake, we monitor planning a move, those are a little less flexible, because sometimes, we do need a move to be planned by a certain date. So we would need the volunteer to be reachable and accessible for that week. But yeah, we can work with all time availabilities and schedules. We're big on that, because we know that without volunteers, moves would not happen. So our biggest thing is, how can we work with you to, on this mission together? Yeah.
And I think people are maybe wondering about safety. We spoke with Ray a few minutes ago, and obviously that was a very big piece of it. But in terms of safety, does anyone need to be concerned about safety?
It's fair to be concerned, because when you hear about it, you hear that you're helping somebody who's leaving an abusive home. So you're thinking, okay, so has the abuse been contained? Like, what's happening? Totally fair to be concerned, but I always, and I express this emphatically, that we value our volunteers just as much as we value our clients, because without volunteers, this would not happen. So we always do our best to get all information of what the security concerns look like for a move, and make sure that we have the proper escort, whether it's a security officer or a police officer. And we always let volunteers know, this is going to be a high risk, this is going to be a medium risk move. So when you're signing up, you have that information. And let's say you're like, what, I'm not really comfortable going on medium and high risk moves. That's okay. You can go on low risk moves the whole time you're with us. Yeah.
Is there a special area right now where you're like, oh, we really need volunteers to do X?
Yes.
What's that?
That is volunteer movers and drivers in Lanark County and Leeds Grenville, because we have expanded out to Lanark County as well as Leeds Grenville, Brockville, and we definitely have a huge need for volunteer movers and drivers in those rural areas, because right now a big part of our team here in Ottawa, they're going on the rural moves, which they go on with enthusiasm and they have no issues with it. But having a team within a rural area means that we can service more areas, or extensions from that main area, so that not everyone's going in from Ottawa, which allows us to go further if we can start somewhere in Eastern Ontario. Yeah.
And are people walking in, I think about when I've moved, the boxes are organized and somewhat, I'm not the most organized person, but people are, you're kind of ready for a move.
Yeah.
Are people walking into a situation where it's very different, where they might actually be packing the dishes, they might actually be packing up family photos as opposed to just lifting a box?
It all depends on the type of move. So we have 3 different move types, which is resettlement, escorted, and urgent exit. So resettlement, usually things are packed, they're ready to go. Escorted means that we're going back with the client to their previous home to grab belongings. So in that case, if the caseworker didn't, wasn't able to get everything packed, we may help with some light packing. Same thing for urgent exit. Usually we work with the caseworker to make sure they have at least some time to pack before the move date. So I would say in most cases it's very light packing. Every now and then we might have to, tape up some boxes and do some extra packing, but nothing outside of what's manageable.
Mm-hmm. And I can only imagine that, you would want to make sure volunteers stay with you for a long period of time. So is there a debriefing that happens and a way to say that might have been a bit of a rough move or there was, an emotional time?
Yeah, so on every move we have lead movers. They are volunteers who've been with us for a while. They've gone on a couple of moves. They receive that extra training for logistical safety, volunteer concerns, so they can speak with our lead movers after the move. Our lead movers also do a debrief just to say, hey, how's everybody doing? Any comments, any concerns? And then they also have 2 other options after that to debrief. So one is with the move coordinator, who sends a thank you email after our moves, and they can just respond to that email. Or if they just wanted to chat with someone who wasn't on the move, I'm always available through the volunteer email, which we make known to them. Yeah.
And if somebody says, "Oh, geez, I'm going to be going back to school in September. I've only got 6 months," is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely. And I always caution volunteers that sometimes the onboarding process can take long because we do depend on that criminal record check, which, unfortunately I can't rush things at Ottawa Police. But so I caution them to say, if it takes longer, it probably just might mean that you're volunteering with us for a shorter time. But if you're okay with that, we're okay with that. So yeah.
And I love at the beginning of our chat today, we talked about the diversity of the volunteers. And I would think the more diverse the volunteers, the more comfortable the clients.
Exactly.
To have somebody that maybe is of their culture or somebody that's from maybe a country that they came from and they've come to beautiful Canada. I think all of that just makes a really rich organization.
Absolutely, yes. And I think I'm big on that because I'm an immigrant myself. My parents were also immigrants, and we are a minority. So my background is I'm Nepalese and Bermudian. So having someone on the team that either looks like you or can relate to your experiences or your cultures helps to make it feel like a community. So you can come and chat and say, oh, I went through the same thing, and how did you get through that while you're giving back to your new community? Yeah.
The rewards are great, aren't they?
Yes. It's hard work. I will not say, I won't downplay that. It's hard work. You are lifting furniture, you are lifting boxes, but at the end of every move, there's just this sense of we did it and we did it together and we did it for our neighbor or, somebody that we know in the community, and it's great. And you just want to keep coming back for more. And
I always think the value of an organization, are you changing lives and saving lives? You're doing both.
Yeah.
Does that strike you?
That definitely does. And it's also just, one of those things where I think a lot of volunteers that I come across, they say something like this, I wish it existed when my mom was going through it, or my sister or my aunt. Similar with me, I grew up in a family where intimate partner violence was happening and there wasn't anything like this. And so just to have that, to be a part of an organization that works to help those clients, it's like you're helping somebody now. And the little kid in you is like, yay, I got to, help someone, because back then we really couldn't do anything. So, yeah.
Wow. That's beautiful. Yeah. That's beautiful. How can someone reach you?
Volunteer Ottawa. So Volunteer Ottawa at sheltermovers.com. Best way to reach us, VOLTUNEEROTTAWA at sheltermovers.com.
That's wonderful. And we heard earlier, we've got the Ungala coming up on September 20th and lots of events and ways to contribute. And I always think about, a monthly gift or a way that somebody can give, if they can't donate time, I always think of philanthropy as time, talent, and treasure.
Absolutely.
And so if they can't donate time and talent for whatever reason, maybe it's a young family, then maybe it's the treasure piece.
Yes, our Ungala is going to be a very unique event, so definitely come out and join us. We'll be at the Great Glebe Garage Sale as well, and we'll be at there's a BIPOC youth job fair, so we'll be there as well. So
amazing.
Any events that we're at, we have our donation team ready to take donations. So if you're stopping by and you want to help that way, we'll take that because, without the funding, we can't do the move. So yeah, absolutely. Whether you want to give of your time or resources or help to get resources, we appreciate whatever you can do.
Aren't you a lovely beacon of light? You represent beautifully. Thank you so much. Thank you. Sophie Thapé joining us today. And of course, she's the Volunteer Services Manager for Shelter Movers Ottawa. When we come back, we're going to meet someone else representing Shelter Movers, Janet. Stay with us. As promised, today is all about Shelter Movers Ottawa, an organization that is very close to my heart. And this story you're going to want to absolutely stay for. And I'm so happy to introduce Janet Murray. Hi, Janet. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited you're here. You're wearing your Shelter Movers t-shirt.
I am.
You are proud to be here.
I am.
Tell me a little bit about your connection with Shelter Movers.
The reason I joined or how I found out about them? Both. Okay, so a friend of mine was going to one of their galas in the past, and it was the very first year that it had become a thing in Ottawa. And I went and I just fell in love with what they were doing, and I actually cried at the event listening to some of the survivors speak, and also going around to the different stations they had set up about how they run their operations, etc., and what they do. And it didn't exist when I went through my time of terror. And moving is one of the most stressful things you'll ever go through in your life. And trying to get some things from your home when you're being threatened with somebody's going to kill you. And I had 2 children, and I just left. I had nothing. And he came after me, and I lost my job. Now, there are laws against that now. It's changed. Things are getting better. But I had nothing. I had nowhere to go. I was calling the shelters. They were all full. A woman that I worked with who I barely knew, I'd only known her 2 months, allowed us to live with her for a few months. So she was very brave. And the point is, the reason I'm telling you my story is because Shelter Movers will go in and get some things for you. I had to try and do that on my own. And I went with a very brave friend, and it was brutal. I never got anything. Most of our things were destroyed. Eventually, I ended up in a rental, which my family helped me pay for. The courts got involved. Criminal court got involved. I had 2 detectives. My daughter was very young and testified in criminal court. And it was just absolutely terrifying. And when you're trying to move, so I was put into a rental home. As I said, I started to build my life. I lost my job. There was all kinds of things going on. I just kept getting taken down to the ground. And from a survivor's perspective, and if women are out there and they're listening to me now, there is help. Today, there is help to help you get out, and Shelter Movers is one of those places you can go to. So I went to the West Ottawa Resource Centre, and I had an amazing social worker working with me. They went way beyond, above and above to help me. I have nothing but great things to say about that. But Shelter Movers didn't exist. Right. So the moving I had to do on my own. Well, as you know, moving is incredibly stressful. Mm-hmm. So I felt like it was going to break me, because eventually the courts gave me the matrimonial home, and I had a rental, and everything in my rental had been donated. Judges had donated it to me. I had a military friend who went online asking for help for this woman. Can you help her? Children's have no beds. They have nothing. So everything was given to us. I went to the food bank. All of these things are interconnected, but shelter movers is the logistical piece of getting you out and getting you safe into that transitional space, and then from there, wherever you end up, whether it's housing or your own place, whatever that might be. But it's a huge process. And when you're dealing with criminal court and you're dealing with children and you're dealing with family court, because none of it's connected, and you're trying to work. I was working 2 jobs, 2 children. My children are struggling, and to this day they still do because of what happened. I can't explain to you, it's prison, and trying to escape prison and then not knowing where that perpetrator is and not feeling safe and not being able to manage the beast, as I say. You're so frightened, you're so afraid. And to the point that, and we don't talk about this, that just think about this, okay, now you're moving and you've got all this on your plate. And PTSD isn't talked about, and anxiety. So we talk about money, we talk about being hurt, lack of hearing, etc. It's unbelievable. I mean, I ended up in hospital multiple times because of PTSD, and it was like I was having a heart attack, or we didn't know what was wrong with me, and eventually I was diagnosed with that. But I just need to say, like, how important shelter movers is, because they take that piece of the equation out, and it's massive. And that's why I chose to be with them, because I feel like this is huge, because they come in, they help you, they get the stuff. If it's unsafe, they'll leave, they'll go back, they'll get what you need, they put stuff into storage. Because think about that, where are you going to put all your things? Where do you put your daughter's dance trophies and things like that? But also women are calling and there's nowhere for them to go. On average, it takes a woman 7 times to leave. It took me 3. And I was trying to formulate, I was planning on leaving for 13 years, but when you're being watched, controlled, and we don't talk about it, people just think it's about being hit. It's not. It's way more than that.
Let me say something to you. No, you've done a fantastic job, and I could listen to you all day, because I think your message is really important. But I do want to say something to you, is you have used the word brave a number of times for everyone else around you. But I think you need to be told that you're very brave.
Thank you. I don't feel brave, and I still live with the effects of what's happened to me. I struggle, because the words never leave you. The hurt never leaves you. What's happened to my children? I mean, my son has tried to commit suicide. It's terrible. My daughter has anxiety. This is what's happening today, right now, in people's homes. And we have to go in and we have to help them. And it makes me feel elated to know that Shelter Movers in Ottawa has gone in and moved 3, 4 people, 5 people that week. And I'm like, yay, they're safe. Amazing. Come on, let's do this, because it shouldn't happen to anybody. It shouldn't. So, if you can give your time in some way, and you can do anything, because I did through my training. I mean, they screen everybody, they train everybody, you do police checks, etc. And you go in. And I said, I know I'm going to find it hard to work on a move, but I want to go on one, because logistically I want to understand how this operates.
Right.
And it was amazing to be a part of the team and work with George, who was the lead mover, and he was fantastic. He made me feel, because I explained to him where I was coming from, who I was, and he said, if you need a timeout, you take a timeout. One of them took me for a coffee, because it was very difficult to watch that woman and her children move. Of course, I had flashbacks and memories to what I went through, and the empathy's there, and the empathy can floor you sometimes. So I just, if you can't do that, if that's too much for, we need so much help, like behind the scenes. So scheduling, and there's which Sophie spoke about. But I work with Ray, and I do fundraising in events, because I'm I have some talent for that. And I love talking to people about what happened to me. I feel it's very important. I'm a survivor, and I'm like, let's help. Let's help. Let's get more people to safety and children, because the longer they're there, the worse it is. And the power and control, and it can happen to anybody. I've spoken to women that are doctors, lawyers, dentists. It doesn't matter. It doesn't mean you're stupid. You know, you're not.
It does not matter what the address is, right? It doesn't matter the education, and that's something that I know is really, really important. I'm so heartbroken to say we only have a couple of minutes, because I really could spend a whole day with you. What message would you send to someone today that is maybe on that third or fourth time of trying to walk away?
Call a resource centre, and it's all very private. Nobody needs to know what you're doing. You just call, and they'll schedule you to speak with an intake person, and from there on in, you're looked after. And most women don't even realise how bad it is until they get out. And when they put that pamphlet in front of you and say, go through that and just tick off all the things that you think have happened to you. And at the end of that, my book was full, and I didn't even realise. You don't know, because you've lived with it for so long, and it's a slow process of manipulation and power and control. And make that call, and then we will come and we will help you. And you can do it. You can be brave. You can do it. Be strong. Don't overthink it. And you're stronger and you're better than the person that's hurting you today.
Beautifully said. Honestly, there's nothing else I can say, because you have said it. You've said it from your heart, and I'm so sad that you had to live it to be able to say it so beautifully.
Well, I feel incredibly grateful to be able to be on this platform and tell my story and help other people, because to me that's healing. That's healing.
Yeah, it is. It is healing.
Thank you so much.
And you know, as I said before, I think you're very brave. I think you're very brave to have kept going.
Thank you.
Tenacity to share your story today. I know you've impacted today, whether it be someone that chooses to volunteer, someone that chooses to give a monthly gift, someone that chooses to go to Ungala and hang out with us there, whatever it is.
It's going to be spectacular, by the way.
Absolutely, it's going to be amazing. But I'm really hoping today we've impacted at least one person that decides to make that change.
I hope so too.
Yeah.
And if you're a sister out there going through this, we've got you.
Thank you. Janet beautifully said. Janet Murray, I don't even know what to say. She's just incredible, and I know you heard it as well. Stay with us on An Hour to Give. To give. I'm Sam Laprade, and today is all about Shelter Movers Ottawa. Matthew and Sky are here, and I'm so excited. Matthew Burlingcutt, thank you so much for joining us. You're a lead mover, I understand.
Yeah, absolutely.
So tell me what that means.
Being a lead mover means, leading a team of volunteers, movers and drivers throughout the move process. What that means is, making sure they're organized, making sure that everyone's safe, whether it's a low, medium, or high risk move, and just making sure the itinerary gets followed.
It's fantastic. You brought your friend Sky Smart Levesque. How are you?
Thank you. Thank you for having me on here.
And what's your role, Sky?
So I'm a move coordinator.
Okay.
My role is kind of fluid. I definitely go on some moves sometimes and do other things, but as a move coordinator, I'm basically the logistics behind everything. I'm typically one of the first people to have contact with a client and a survivor, and then we kind of just go into the logistics. We rent trucks, find volunteers such as Matthew, and
It's amazing.
make the rest history.
So I have to, I'll go ask you, and then I'm coming to you, but why?
I love volunteering with Shelter Movers, being able to work with our volunteers and work with our clients to help them out of domestic violence situations. I love the mission, and I love being able to work with the community and get to know what our community is all about.
Yeah, and you do such a beautiful job. I know we chatted before, and to have you here face to face is wonderful. So thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
And Sky, what's the why for you?
The why for me, excuse me, I'm so a little emotional after Janet there.
Yeah, she told an incredible story.
She
Janet
did.
Murray, a few minutes ago, just shared just so honestly. It was a beautiful.
It was beautiful, and I'm still trying to hold back tears a little bit because my why is somewhat similar to hers. My mother is a survivor herself, and me and my siblings went through a lot of this as children. And the why for me, why I do this, I think it's a calling. I don't think it was much of a decision for me. When I saw the posting for a move coordinator on Volunteer Hub, it just spoke to me. The way I overcame my trauma, it just felt like I needed to be a part of this. Shelter Movers has such a great mission that just feels so true to me. And it was an opportunity I couldn't surpass that. This is something I had to do. I had to.
And it's so interesting because Janet's story, coming out of a horrible situation yourself, as a survivor as well as your mom, I think much of that, if these resources didn't exist at a time that they could have helped you,
Well, they didn't.
and so
They didn't
you
exist.
step in when they are existing,
Yeah.
and you become a solution for another family, right?
Absolutely. It feels so good to be part of this. So it's such a meaningful organization. It's kind of like a double entendre. It's very unfortunate that this organization has to exist in this world, but it's so good that it does exist. It needs to be here.
Wow, is that ever beautifully said?
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely, 100. I never thought about it like that, to be honest. I never thought about it like that. And when you hear these stories, Matthew, and you hear the story of Janet Murray, who once again spoke so eloquently, but heartbreaking at the same time, does that drive you? And maybe you're thinking, oh, do I have time this week to volunteer?
Absolutely, it drives me. And going on the moves themselves drives me. I've been through a few moves. I've done over 100, and I've seen some moves go great, some moves don't go so great. We're trained to, sometimes the client is going through the best day of their lives or the worst day of their lives. So we need to sort of adjust as lead movers and support our clients that way. And even on the not so great moves, to see them go from a place of violence and to a home of safety, it's fantastic. I can't describe it. It's amazing.
It's truly incredible.
It is. I've never experienced a move. I'll take it from both of you that of what that experience is. But what I do know is that when people feel like they have a team behind them, like I picture the visual for me is I picture somebody with a cape, and they're like, I'm going to get out of this situation, and then there's like 100 people behind them. I mean, I know there's not 100 of you, but
Yeah.
it must feel like that to them.
The cape is definitely there. It's just invisible.
There you go. I love
Yeah,
that.
it's really
I
that.
love that
Yeah.
because I think it is very brave, as we've said. Sometimes it takes up to 7 times before someone's left a situation like that.
Some takes 17 years, 70 years.
Right.
It's a constant struggle.
Yeah. I love to bust myths.
Okay.
So what's a myth maybe that you think is around this type of work that we can bust today?
I think one of the most common myths is just really about volunteering in general. People think they don't have the time, they can't make the time, or they think they don't have the capacity to do it. And it really doesn't take that much. Sometimes it's just an hour a month, sometimes it's an hour a year. Could be $10 here and there. Anything really helps. This community is very small but very tight, and we need help. We need the help, even if it's an hour or a coffee.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Any myths you want to bust for us today?
Well, just to add to that, some people think when they hear about shelter movers, oh well, I can't lift boxes, I can't physically do the moves. Maybe I live somewhere else outside of Ottawa or any of our chapters. And what I say to that is, we have so many different roles. We have, move coordinators. We have, scheduling teams. We have, we have so many different roles, I guess, volunteer roles that people can join. So there's a different way you can absolutely contribute to the greater goal of ending gender-based violence.
What does your family and your friends think about this work that you do, Sky?
Oh, geez. A lot of people think I'm crazy because I donate a lot of time to this cause, but to me, it doesn't feel like work. This is something I'm very passionate about, and it's very fulfilling to me. So I can give 1,000 hours and it still doesn't feel like enough. But everyone, it's usually the general census. Everyone thinks that this is a very good cause, very good organization to be a part of. I think everyone's just proud, to say the least. I think everyone's just happy for me that I found my calling. I'm very proud and, thankful that something like this is out there, because truly, it's a weird number, and I don't know it for sure, but every woman that I personally know has experienced gender-based violence. Not everyone has needed a service like this, but the number is very astounding. And I think it's just important to have out here, and every one of my friends and family, they think that same way too.
Yeah. So let's just do a truth bomb. And I've told my story before. I am. I had to leave a very, 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 very bad marriage. And I was very lucky. I owned the home we were in. I was able to stay in my home and not need the services of shelter movers. But the reality is, and this is one of the reasons that Ray and the team know that this is very close to me, because I experienced it. But I had, I had other supports around me. My circumstances were different. But I often thought, what if today I needed somebody to come and help my daughter and I get out of this situation? What would I have done? So it's, to your point, I think it's very, very common, and that breaks my heart to say. Yeah, it breaks my heart to say. What would you say to men that may be interested in volunteering? Because they may feel like, well, that's a woman's organization in terms of maybe I won't be seen in a good light as a man.
You know what? I've actually asked that question to one of my volunteer colleagues a few years ago. I started 3 years ago, and I was in the truck with one of my female volunteers, and I said, wouldn't it just be easier to have an all-female team? Wouldn't it just make the client feel more comfortable? And what she told me really, really stuck to me. She said, to have men on those moves can show the clients and show people that there are good men out there, and that's what I would say. We as men need to step up and really help these people.
I was so hoping you said that. That's because that's how I feel about it. I think it's wonderful to be able, and to be honest with you, and this partner may not have hit you, but to show children as well that there's good men.
Absolutely. Right.
I think that is a really important piece. I'd love your perspective on that.
Yeah, I'd love to go off of that. Being a young girl, especially being the child of a survivor, there was a long time I was afraid of men. I was afraid of people in general, but really men. It's hard when you experience trauma like that. It's hard to find the courage again and the strength to be open, be out there and talk to the world, talk to people in the world. And when you're so afraid of a certain type of people, men, and then you experience someone like him, it really opens your eyes. There are truly still a lot of good people out there. Even when you think the world is bad, it does suck sometimes, it really does. But there are so many good people out there willing to lend a hand, willing to just be there and be a good guy. So thank you.
Is that emotional for you?
A little bit, yeah. Thank you.
It's been an emotional show.
Yes,
It's been an emotional show, but I think it's good.
it is.
Because I'll be honest with you, even 10 years, we wouldn't have had this conversation on TV
No, you're right.
or on radio.
It's good we're
We
talking about it now.
We wouldn't have had
Absolutely.
it, right? And the different perspectives are so interesting. I love that they paired you together. I really do, because I think it's really interesting to see, to see the different perspectives you're coming from, and I think it's really, really smart that they've done that. Are you excited for September 20th for Ungala?
Absolutely.
Are you pumped?
I want to be there.
Okay,
Yeah,
me too. Me too.
Yeah,
I
I'm
think it'll be
super
great.
excited about that. Yeah.
I
think
love the
it'll be
unique
wonderful.
twist on it too.
That too.
I love the twist. So we want to get that in everyone's calendar. September 20th, Ungala. All the details will be coming on Shelter Movers. And of course, we know Race Weekend is a great time to raise money for Shelter Movers. The Great Glee Garage Sale is a great time.
I'm going to be there, by the way.
Oh, there you
the
go.
garage sale.
Are you
so-
selling some good stuff or are you buying?
No, I'm going to be at the booth.
Oh, with the booth, of course you are. Oh my gosh, I'm like all excited about the garage sale, but yes, of course.
I'm
it's a-
definitely going to look around. I might leave with some things, though.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's really important to be there and to be so supportive. And thank you both so much for sharing your story and sharing the story of Shelter Movers. I think today, having the different perspectives, having Ray come on and kind of give us that overview of what Shelter Movers is all about, and then to have the volunteer coordinator come on, Sophie, and talk to us, and have Janet Marie share her story. And I know you were both touched by Janet's story as well. But then to end with both of you, I think is very inspiring and gives me a lot of hope
Thank
about
you.
the organization.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
So you're encouraging everyone to volunteer then, right?
Everyone.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And if you can't volunteer, there's always a way to help us.
Yeah.
It can be a little bit of money here and there, a couple bucks, or it could just be sharing a post we have on Facebook or Instagram.
Absolutely.
Literally anything helps.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you both.
Thank
Thank
you.
I
you.
appreciate so much Sky joining us, of course, and Matthew. Today, it has been very emotional here on An Hour to Give. I think it's been a good thing, though. I'm hoping today we've inspired you to get involved with Shelter Movers Ottawa, but more importantly, I hope there's just one person that has heard us today and decides to make that change. And it does get better. Trust me. I'm Sam Laprade. This is An Hour to Give.